There's a ton of great nerdy TV out this fall, from the new Star Wars live-action Ahsoka show to the epic journey of the Wheel of Time. The Lorehounds have got you covered with full recaps, deep discussions, and answers to listener questions.
Search for the Lorehounds on your favorite podcast app, including YouTube and Spotify, for a fire hose of science fiction and fantasy. Or head to thelorehounds.com to join the conversation via our contact form or our Discord server.
Whatever you're watching, we'll be there as your guides to great TV.
Welcome to the MCUniverse. We are the Lorehounds, your guides to the multiverse and beyond. I'm David.
I'm Jean.
And I'm Elysia, and we've got a packed agenda today.
First, we'll be catching up on what's going on with Marvel animation and the special presentations.
And then we're going to get into our Loki prep. We're going to do a quick reminder of what happened last season, plus what we expect for the new season starting on October 5th.
Or October 6th, for those of us in the rest of the world.
We'd love to hear your thoughts about Loki. Email your feedback to mcu@thelorehounds.com or head over to our website at thelorehounds.com and use the contact form or record us a voicemail.
For ad-free versions of this and all of our podcasts, check us out on patreon.com/thelorehounds. I'll have more updates on our schedule and some of the other ins and outs of our podcast at the end of the podcast.
Also, we'd be forever grateful if you could help us get more ears tuned into the Lorehounds MCUniverse. All you need to do is drop us a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening. Apple Podcast is especially helpful. Even if it's just a few quick words, we read all the reviews and they mean a lot to us.
And before we get started, just a quick spoiler warning. We'll, of course, be spoiling all of Loki Season 1, but spoilers from the rest of the MCU and the Marvel comics are also on the table.
And finally, we want to note that while we are not members of the WGA or SAG-AFTRA, we do support them in their strike for better pay and working conditions.
We do not work for the studios, and this is not a paid promotion.
We're just here to talk about the creative work that goes into these projects and why quality creative work is so important to our enjoyment as an audience.
Well, welcome back, MCU crew. It has been a minute since we've all gotten together. It's good to see you guys. How's everybody doing?
Doing okay. Enjoying my Starfield nights.
Okay.
I'm deep into Wheel of Time brain rot right now, but you know that.
Yeah, it's been a busy season. John and I have been covering all 3 shows, and now we're rolling out of Foundation, and then it'll be interesting because Wheel of Time and Ahsoka both kind of wrap up in the same week, and then we're right into Loki. At least John's going to get a little bit of a breather. I got to keep running on. So, and you guys have been enjoying Ahsoka and Wheel of Time. I think Elysia, Wheel of Time, you're
yeah. Well, Ahsoka as well, definitely. And it's only because Wheel of Time is on that I'm not obsessed with Ahsoka even more.
And Jean, you've been having a good time with Ahsoka.
Both of them.
Both, yeah.
I think I really love Ahsoka. For me personally, it might be my favorite of the Star Wars series.
Yeah, okay. In the television world or the entire movies
in the television world.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
My spouse is. She was saying that it's quickly climbing up, and she's just a casual fan, and so she's really enjoying it. It's interesting because it's a much more spiritual and mythic sort of storytelling. So it's cool. I like it. Well, but anyway, we're not here to talk about Ahsoka. We've got some MCU stuff to get to today. But first, we never got back around to reflecting on Secret Invasion. We had some ideas about that, but summer got really busy. And then we had sort of the triple coverage going on. So, Jean, any thoughts reflecting back to Secret Invasion and where you're at with it? What do you think the impact is going to be going forward for the MCU at large?
Yeah, Secret Invasion just was an overall disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
It came and it went, and I probably will never watch it again.
Okay.
And
that's criticism enough right there in some ways, right? That's very telling.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And there are some things that happen that will probably have some impact on the broader MC universe, the movies, and maybe they'll pick them up in the Marvels, that's coming out.
Yep.
But for the series itself, just so many good things that could have been done that weren't done that just leaves me shaking my head. It's through no fault of the actors.
No.
Right, yeah.
Right, it's through
Excellent
no fault
cast.
of the actors. Excellent cast. What they were given was a dud to work with. And, some scenes, and there are some people who just stood out above and beyond what they were given to work with. But, just a real disappointment.
Elysia, you are plugged in a little bit more with studio news and behind the scenes type of stuff. Do we have any more clarity about what went down, or is the story pretty clear about that they had one script and then they gave it to another writer who then chopped and changed it on the cheap or something like that? I don't know. Maybe you can refresh us a little bit.
Yeah, basically, there's been a lot of this happening, not only in Marvel, but especially in Marvel recently, where, especially because they have the projects are meant to fit together in a certain way. And then when they have to rearrange things, I think they cut some cost corners. I'm willing to bet that there was definitely, in what we saw when we were mining for the gold and the shit, we saw, I think what we saw were the glimmers of where it started, probably. I don't know.
We could see the bones of a good show in there. And then on top of it was this weird stuff that it just didn't make any sense. And it was almost, there were two shows chopped and changed together.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really hope that they learn from this, that, because they should have learned this lesson with when a very similar thing happened with Iron Fist and the Inhumans with Marvel TV. Like, come on, this is why you need to learn history so you don't repeat it.
Right.
But the Marvels is going to be their proving ground for how they handle the aftermath of this story. And then, Loki is going to need to be the thing that pulls audiences back in and makes audiences trust Marvel again for quality.
The irony is that the studio executives and the structure of that sort of corporate world, there is no incentivization to learn from your past. If you climb the ladder and you get in, you want to make your mark, and you only got a limited amount of time, maybe in a particular position, either before you're out or you're up. And there is no incentive for being thoughtful and learning certain things. Ironically, because all the stories that we're telling, a lot of them have this very point embedded in them, in our mythologies and in our the kinds of stories that are interesting is repeating the past. If we don't learn our lessons, we're doomed to repeat them. So, Jean, in terms of how Secret Invasion is going to there's a few things that they've got to take out from Secret Invasion and work with. Like, they've set some lore and some world building that we can't ignore anymore. Do you see a lot? Like, is it 10%, 15%, 100%? Like, how much can they just ignore Secret Invasion?
They've ignored so far a big hand sticking up out of the Indian Ocean. Right? The fallen celestial from the Eternals. There's a big, huge, extended hand sticking up, and we've seen no mention of this.
Oh, well, there was an Easter egg in She-Hulk, but that was really.
You're right. I'll take it back. There was a single mention of this, and it wasn't even a mention. It was just it wasn't a real thing yet.
It was for the people who pause screens and read everything.
So
I'm not clued in. What do you?
So the Eternals. Yeah. The end of the movie. There's a fallen celestial.
Okay.
Right. Who was emerging from the core of the earth.
Oops.
But they stopped it. But he almost emerged. So there's part of a huge space god that is just sticking up out of the ocean.
So it just looks like an island that looks like a hand protruding upward.
Got it. Okay.
And you've watched the shows since the Eternals movie.
Yep.
Which was what, a year and a half ago?
At least.
And you have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
You just said, I don't know.
Yeah. And just to re-clarify our positions here for the MCU universe, I'm sort of the proxy for the casual fan. I'm just taking what I see. Jean, you're deep comic book, and Elysia, you're into the studio news and the behind the scenes and all the television production, and a comic book fan as well, right? So we've got sort of...
Yeah, I mean, Jean's definitely got me beat, but there are certain characters that I have...
that are near and dear to your heart.
Yeah. That's right. So we're sort of triangulating here on some stuff. And yeah, so for me, I'll sometimes, dear listener, if you're kind of new to our show coverage, there's going to be a lot of things that I'm missing, and that's kind of the part of the point of our podcast. Anyway,
so when you ask the question, are there things that will be seen or carry over? I don't know. Okay. If it's 10%, if it's 5%, if it's 1%, because there's a huge thing that hasn't carried over.
Mm-hmm.
So far. But yeah.
So
far. we know that certain aspects, like where they left things with Nick and his wife, that's going to carry over into the Marvels. It looks like, probably.
Okay.
He's going to be in the Marvels at least.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Yeah,
well, yeah, the Marvels is an important part of his storyline, right? Mm-hmm. So Carol Danvers and him, and so
Talos' death, I guess, as well, right?
Right.
Would have to be...
That has to resonate through at some level.
Or does it?
Well, and just the whole scroll storyline has to be accounted for. And
well, I mean, I have to assume the Kree are going to be in there, and the Skrull and the Kree are mortal enemies. So
yeah, right, cool. Okay, well, I guess before
go
ahead.
Yes, better hope. Loki's just a better hope for a better Marvel future.
Yes, it's true, and it can exist largely, I'm assuming, outside of the need for staying up with the Eternals and the Marvels, because it's this whole TVA timeline meta stuff. Yeah, and I think season 1. Well, we'll get to this later when we actually start talking about Loki. But yeah, I get the point that that's happening. So before we get into our season prep, we wanted to quickly review some news. Thanks again to both of you for pulling together a really great outline of a lot of stuff, because there's a bunch of Marvel stuff. Even though the strike is going on, there's still stuff that has been produced. They're holding on some stuff. We're looking forward to some stuff. So we're going to talk about some Marvel animation things, and then some special presentations. And then we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll do this Loki preview. So I Am Groot is the first thing that we're going to start with.
Yeah. Have you guys watched it?
No.
I did.
Or just me? You did?
I watched it. Yes.
So what did you think, Sean?
It was cute.
It was cute.
I'm not a fan of Baby Groot. Let me just put that out there. I'm not a fan of the dancing Baby Groot.
Well, he's a little asshole, but
yeah. And so I'm not smitten with dancing Baby Groot.
Okay.
So for me,
I'm on record too of just being generally not a fan of the babyfication of stuff. Baby spies. I mean, I remember when they started it with Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, and
I love Scrappy-Doo though.
I like Scrappy-Doo. Scrappy-Doo's my guy.
I think Scrappy-Doo came out just at a time when I was going from like a kid to a preteen or whatever, and so it hit in my transition zone where I was like, okay, that's just not cool. That's just silly stuff. So anyway.
No, I mean, it's definitely for kids. But it is, I like it because it's really short. Like you can watch both seasons that are out in half an hour. It's really personal for the creator, Kirsten Lepore. So she really fought for, you can look into them and watch them with a deeper meaning, about the first one of the new season, was her story about what it's like to be a mother, and the ugly side of it too, the side where you don't want to be a new mother. And then, the last episode, what did you think of that? The Watcher episode, they got Jeffrey Wright back for it.
Yeah. I love his portrayal of the Watcher. He's really great at it. He makes me laugh so much when he's, in these, you in the White If series and in this series where he's just, talking and saying, hey, don't do that, do this, don't do that. It gets me every time. It's corny, but I love it. Interestingly enough, that was not my favorite episode.
No? What was your favorite episode?
The first one.
Okay.
Yeah, Are You My Group with the baby, whatever. Birds or whatever
bird
they
thing.
were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite episode. Yeah, it was very touching. And I really appreciated that episode. The last one with the Watcher, I thought they were going to include the Nova Force at first, but they went in this separate direction, like a bait and switch, which I thought was cool. So I'm not sure, because it ends as if Groot plays a larger role in the protection of the universe. So David, just to give you a little bit of background, the Watcher is all-powerful being who sits outside of our dimension, but he watches what goes on. He does not interfere. He's not supposed to. But if you saw What If season 1, you see that there are circumstances that he decides that he must interfere. So he is watching baby Groot try to get a seed that is supposed to, change and be the thing that protects the universe. And baby Groot is not going according to the plan. And he watches the seed just burn. And then he realizes that baby Groot is actually the seed that is supposed to be the protector of the universe. The one that ensures the universe's survival.
Okay.
And the Watcher also played a big role in the What If first season. So
yes.
There's some teasing that it's so many times where he wanted to help, and then
okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So it feels like with I Am Groot, then it's more contextual setup, like what they did. Oh, I apologize. What is the little shorts that they did for Star Wars for Ahsoka and Dooku? They
Tales of the Jedi.
Thank you. That's what it was. Yeah, Tales of the Jedi. Just putting out a little bit more lore, canon, context information, so that there's a more richness. There's a deeper and more complex richness to a character.
Yeah. So I don't know what it means for Groot's future in the MCU, if he's going to have
any implications.
If they will have some sort of larger role.
Should I, I actually want to jump sideways a little quick here with this comment, and I was thinking about this a little bit earlier. Often we talk about, with this particular show, does it mean that you have to have watched the other show? And, what are you, especially with Ahsoka, like, Rebels and to some degree Clone Wars, do you have to watch it to get this?
No.
Now, I think in Ahsoka, they're doing a really good job of making sure that they're creating a story in a context that you don't have to have. But in MCU stuff, there is so much that you do. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, well, that's actually inherent in the genre of comic books, right? Is that the interconnectedness between the storylines and the issues and the different artists and the reboots and all of these kinds of things. And so for me, that's a feature, not a bug of MCU.
Right.
Is the deep interconnections that are going on here. And so I guess that goes to my question is, do you think I should go back and watch the I Am Groot things?
Well, I mean, don't consider it connected so much to anything else, but it's for anyone who's curious, it's a really short watch, cute, it's not, are
they done well? I hope.
Yeah, done very well. And you can see that it's the product of a singular creative, who has a vision. But they're just short. They're 3 minutes each. Like they're really short.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I would say about the interconnectiveness, like when you start a comic book, there's always going to be like, you just can't, like there's no way I'm ever going to read all the way back to like the Marvel 30s,
Exactly.
But every comic book starts with a summary of where the things are, what you need to know. And then they make references within. And that's exactly how the movies in the MCU operate too. Like you can really jump in on any single one. And if it's done its job, you should be able to, just enjoy that as a standalone thing.
Right. And that's the hard part is doing the job, because oftentimes there are so many creative choices, and assuming the best and assuming minimal studio interference, but proper studio management of good guardrails and constraints. If a show and a showrunner and the producer and everybody who's working on it can do their thing, then even then there's going to be creative choices that they make that aren't going to be 100% for the audience. And that should be within a norm of how we watch these shows, I guess.
What I also think that question about the interconnectivity, comics are often, stopped, right? And a new, like, they just launched a Daredevil #1.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Superman #1. It's not actually the first Superman or the first Daredevil, right? But they're jumping on points for people who haven't been following the story thus far, and gives them an opportunity to get invested in these characters. We're starting a new story, a new theme, whatever, new artist, new direction, and we're going to say it's issue #1 so people could jump on board, and you don't have to have the background of the previous 900 issues that have come
literally.
out. Yeah. Right, literally, right? Yeah. You don't have to have that in order to, start reading this version of the comic.
Right.
But and there's some... Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're like me, that's just it opens more rabbit holes where, I'm like,
absolutely.
Well, how did Agatha Harkness die? And then, I'm reading Fantastic Four, or whatever.
It always leads to those questions, because invariably there are things that, unless it's, Secret Wars 2, where everything ended, you know what I mean? Like, and then you want to jump in where it all begins again. Okay. Or they just relaunched, the Ultimate Universe again, Marvel Ultimate Universe again, right? So this is the second iteration of that. So you can jump on board at that first issue and get to know what's happening in this universe right now without having read the previous, editions of Ultimate, X-Men, Ultimate Fantastic Four, and things of that nature. So when you see like different hands in the pot for the shows and sometimes for the movies, that is kind of inherent to comic book storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, different artists, sometimes a writer will come in, with a different vision, and you've been reading something for 10 issues, and wow, this is a really different turn, or even the way that the characters are drawn. You're like, oh man, I got to get used to this new way that the characters are being drawn. So it is a feature, not a bug.
Yeah. And go ahead, Elysia.
No, I was just going to say, I hope that they lean into that more on the theatrical side, because it seems like they just want to play it safe for the big screens. But there's been more room on Disney Plus to experiment in different genres.
That's the danger, right? Is if we keep lowering the bar, and I've heard this in some interviews with other writers and showrunners and stuff, is that oftentimes the studio will come back and they're very worried that audiences are going to get lost because something's not explained, or things aren't, or things are too sort of complex or just embedded without the exposition. So there's always that tension from the studios where the writers are like, no, treat the audience like adults, immerse them in the world, depending on the story you're talking about, right, and whatnot, but have a point of view and let story, let people react to story, and they'll be fine in most cases. I mean, if we think back to Star Wars 77, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you were a general during the Clone Wars. General? What? Clone Wars? What? Like that created a whole thing right there. And if the studio had some studio exec had come with their notes and said, take those lines out, we'd be poorer for the experience. And so, there's that. There should be attention, and there should be some guardrails and some expectations. But also, like you said, Elysia, is if they keep lowering the bar, then we just get mush and nothing means anything. So wait, how did we get over here from I Am Groot, from Baby Groot?
Well, speaking of, I think anthology series are a good idea, a good way to test the grounds. And
sure, yeah.
And we have What If season 2 coming back in December.
Good job.
And the Watcher ties in too, because I'm assuming he'll be back as well.
Right. So we were Were we scheduled for What If season 2 earlier this year, or was it always up in the air and they're just now finally giving us a date?
They just kind of, I think it's kind of like the bone they're throwing us since everything else was delayed.
But right,
I think
what Ironheart and is being delayed, and what's the other one? Echo is Echo's also being pushed, right?
Yeah.
And animation has such a long lead time. They're already working on What If season 3 right now. So
sure, yeah.
But I'm hoping that we'll be doing some coverage of it because it ends up being surprisingly important for the main universe, I think.
Okay.
Like we apparently we're going to get a part 2 of Captain Carter. There's rumors that there's going to be a Christmas special, a Wanda musical, and like a whole bunch of other. So I'm excited for it. What about you, Joe? Did you like season 1?
Yeah, I love season 1. I thought it was great. Again, some of the just really good storytelling for me. It was fun to see these characters played in a way that we don't normally see them play, which is why I've always loved the What If version of Marvel Comics, because it gives you, something else that you might have wanted to see. What if Spider-Man was evil? What if the Fantastic Four never got their powers, and things of that nature. So I just really enjoy going down rabbit holes of conjecture, and I thought this was really super. I really enjoyed season 1.
Yeah.
Ultron, I think they really gave Ultron the villain arc that he deserves, because it wasn't, to me, he was the Avengers Ultron movie Ultron was not what I wanted.
He was nerfed a little, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he really got the story that he deserves as a major villain, and the importance of the importance of how he can be just so dangerous to the overall universe and to our heroes personally. So I really, really thought they did a great job.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched season 1, you should watch season 1.
Yeah, I think if David, if you haven't seen it, or anyone listening at home, I recommend watching it, because I mean, my favorite episode of season 1 was, and it was one of the last things Chadwick Boseman did.
Oh yes,
was the What If T'Challa was Star-Lord. Such a good one.
Yeah.
Cool.
But we also got, from season 1, we're getting a spin-off, Marvel Zombies, which is going to be one of the first rated R MCU projects.
Can't wait for that.
Is that going to be a movie?
No, an animated series.
Series?
Yeah.
Okay,
next
so
year.
not even just a one-off. Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
So that had to have been in development for a while. So they've been keeping that in their pocket?
No. It's been known for a while. They announced it around the time of season 1. But it's coming up. They've announced it's next year, but we'll see all these. There's apparently going to be 3 next year. So we've got we've got X-Men 97, which is the continuation of the classic X-Men animated series. Right. So where we've left things off, sorry, spoilers for 30-year-old show. Magneto's in charge, and Charles Xavier's he's off planet under the care of his alien wife. So it's an interesting place to pick things up, with Magneto in charge of the X-Men.
Okay. Quickly on the zombies thing.
And
I think this is interesting because, we've talked a little bit about Werewolf. Obviously we have Blade is in the universe, right?
Yeah, that's going to be the other rated R. Yeah.
And so there's this whole corner of the MCU, which is
Marvel
this
horror.
Exactly. And I'm like, it still shocks me every time that I hear or see reference to it, because it's just Marvel. Oh, it's Iron Man. It's, Captain America, et cetera, et cetera.
So much more than that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's very cool. And we're going to talk about, I believe, Werewolf by Night a little bit later. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's cooking there.
Yeah. And then the third animated series we get next year is Spider-Man Freshman Year, which it's going to be not exactly our Spider-Man origin story, but like a very near, close by one, and it's going to feature also Charlie Cox as Daredevil in it.
So this is the Tom Holland live action Spider-Man.
No, this is also an animated series.
Oh, you did say animated. I apologize. So is this from Across the Spider-Universe Spider-Man?
No.
Oh,
This is closer. This is like right adjacent to Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Okay. Okay.
But then like set before Homecoming, but in not quite our universe, because apparently in this universe, Spider-Man already has a relationship with Daredevil. And they're also going to feature Doctor Strange and Nico Minoru, who's people know from like The Runaways. She's a witchy character, so I love her. And Amadeus Cho and a bunch of the usual villains.
Yeah, you had a great lore bomb for the Night Sisters when our Ahsoka coverage. I was like, oh yeah, Alicia's
really
down
good.
for the
really
witchy
good.
stuff. So
the witchy women are my favorite character archetype for sure.
Love it. Super nerdy question. Of our primary characters in the MCU universe, Spider-Man, well, no, Batman's DC, isn't he? Superman, DC. I'm just trying to think of who has the most iterations, who has the most exponents of
Peter Parker.
Peter Parker, no doubt.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Like clear.
I'm so tired of Peter Parker. I've been on this rant before. I am tired of Peter Parker.
Okay.
I don't want to see a young Peter. I don't want to see.
So
high school
you're not
Peter.
you're not going to be too.
You don't want to see middle-aged dad Peter.
You give me middle-aged dad Peter.
Sure.
Well,
give me Miles Morales stuff.
Yeah, give me that guy.
Yeah.
But Peter Parker, I'm Peter Parkered out.
Gotcha.
I am Peter Parkered out.
But I'm excited.
Yeah, I know.
They had me at Charlie Cox and and the witchy stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, all of that stuff sounds, fantastic. But I'm just,
yeah.
I'm not
Yeah. Cool.
Well, and then there's going to be a sophomore year to follow after that. So presumably both are limited series.
Okay. Speaking of across the universe.
Yeah, it's so the video, it's been on video on demand since August, but there's no news on when it comes to streaming, which I suspect has to do with the fact that they have been earning a ton of money on.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are they? What's the purchase price right now?
I mean, I guess it depends.
For the Blu-ray, I think it's $30.
Or like for digital on like Amazon or something. I don't know. I haven't really looked it up, but.
All right.
But they are it's very successful. A lot of people are paying for it. It's the bottom line.
We had hoped that once it got to streaming, into the streaming content, we were going to do a recap of it, since we can't freeze frame in the movie theater when we saw it live and go back and pick out details and stuff like that. But I still would love to be able to.
Yes.
When it becomes economically feasible for us all to check that out.
I think it's a worthwhile endeavor to do, because that movie has a lot of layers.
So many layers.
And there are things that we could probably suss out that will play a role in the future of the MCU.
Do we have news on part 3 for it?
I mean, it was delayed.
Okay. All right.
I think two factors, of course. Well, I think the biggest factor is that a lot of the animators came forward, and I was saying I'd heard that the conditions were bad, and there's been some formal complaints. So
we're getting some great news that animators are starting to organize, and I think they voted. I forget which studio, but there were some. There were
VFX artists. Yeah, there's a couple of different industries that are starting, and I hope. I mean, I hope that more people start to use their collective bargaining power because,
and hopefully that this translates to across around the world, because just going over to another country and then exploiting the labor costs there is.
Well, that's what you see a lot more productions in Europe now, which
is what
I don't hate.
Marvel is doing.
Yeah,
they're going to Britain.
But then
for their studios,
in the European Union and other European countries, they do have some stronger labor laws. By the floor that we're talking about is much higher than what we.
But I don't know if Britain still in the EU.
No, Britain is not. No,
exactly.
We don't want. But labor laws in general are different, but depending on the country, and so it's hopefully for those workers there to be able to. Yeah, as you say, use their collective powers.
Well, you see, like also, for instance, Wheel of Time set up a studio in Prague, and I've heard of a couple productions moving to Prague. Yeah, they had, there were filming incentives in certain countries, like Morocco for a while. So
sure, and Hungary's had a big studio presence for quite a while, and so it's great for historical films and things like that. So anyway.
Anyway,
we digress.
But so yeah, RIP Marvel TV, the entity that was in charge of like all the Netflix shows and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that.
Yeah, the first Daredevil was good. I enjoyed that.
Well, I know there's quite a few that I enjoy. Yeah. There's only 2 I thought were bad.
Jessica Jones was awesome.
Yeah, I love Jessica Jones.
Really love Jessica. I still go back and watch. I just watched the first season of Jessica Jones like a month and a half ago.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. We get David Tennant.
Yes. Horrifying character.
Horrifying character. Yeah.
Horrifying character.
Yeah. Well, compared to the Sean Chen from Wheel of Time.
Don't get me started. Oh, I'll be a blubbering mess on this podcast.
But yeah, there was only one Marvel TV show to survive, unless you count Daredevil, which I'm not because it's a soft reboot. But yeah, it's Hit Monkey, which is another animated show. That's MODOK, which I personally thought had some really great storytelling. That one's gone. But yeah, Hit Monkey. Has anyone else watched it?
I haven't watched
heard of it.
Okay.
Never ever heard of it.
I mean, it's I don't always watch ultraviolet cartoons, but when I do,
you go to Hit Monkey.
No, actually, Hit Monkey suffered a little bit in comparison to cartoons like Invincible and Harley Quinn, and Chainsaw Man, but it. I recognize it has really good quality. And actually, I ended up binging it, and I ended up going and like reading all the Hit Monkey comics. So I guess it had something. Yeah. I mean, by that, I mean, like there's a limited handful of Hit Monkey comics.
No, yeah, I know it's not a lot.
Interesting.
I'll check that out. I didn't check it out. I'll check that out.
Yeah. But it's interesting that it's also, because they've been using, for instance, the main antagonist in season 1 is Lady Bullseye, which is obviously definitely a Marvel character, but they've removed the Marvel name from the title. And since Marvel TV's gone, it's now being produced by 20th TV Animation or 20th Television Animation might be. Yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting. But then more back in-house. Now, I've never watched Spidey and His Amazing Friends. It's like for Disney Junior, but it's coming back for season 4 for those of you with young kids. I have watched Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Have you?
I have.
Yeah, what do you think?
I like it.
Yeah,
I like
the animation's super.
It's
unique.
Really cool, really cool, and I just like Luna as a character, and so yeah, I think it's really. She's a great character to have on screen. She's
so for David,
that's written.
She's like I don't know, what is she, like 10 or 12 or something?
Lunella,
and she's super intelligent, like genius. So she builds all these gadgets, and she managed to accidentally pull a T-Rex over from another dimension, and that's her companion. Yeah.
Like she's the next big
like Iron
pants.
Man. Yeah.
And like they're setting her up to grow up to be probably the smartest person in the MCU.
Yeah, Reed Richards walked out. Yeah,
right.
It'll be interesting to see how. I mean, we've long had onboarding stuff for IP, right? Where we want to get kid interest, and so they sort of hook into this universe. Yeah. But I think we're at a new level now here, where we really do. It's always been maybe a single standalone property where we have these big extended universes, and we can look at these big pipelines. And I mean, I think Star Wars has been doing this to probably longer for some degree, but it'll be interesting to see if they take, this cohort now that they're producing specific content for, and then, as you say, as a character ages, do they age characters with the cohort as the cohort is growing in the real world growing up, or do you just sort of transition them to the more adult oriented content without a through line? I don't know. It's an interesting question.
So I think it's a great question. I think the brilliance of comic books is that you can have a 10-year-old Lunetta, Moon Girl and the Devil Dinosaur comic, and have one where she is a 30-year-old superhero.
Right.
You could have those two comics running at the same time.
Quite easily. Yeah.
Very right. So I think that's what makes comics, so cool, is that
unique
you can have
that
that character in different roles in different time frames, on a different timeline even than you can do in movies or TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think they'll age her properly like in that way, but you'll probably see comic books where she's older.
Okay.
Well, it would be interesting if they pulled her into, it's been a lot of rumors swirling about Young Avengers team forming.
Oh yeah. That's been, the rumor for as long as we've gotten all of these shows. It's like, eventually we know these characters, the actors that are playing these characters are no longer going to be playing them. So who's going to replace them?
Yeah,
right?
True.
So,
right. And
but
there's
they
some
have to
conversation in the Star Wars world about that too, about like, if we're going to keep having certain characters around and telling side stories and stuff, do we need to look at recasting? So
yeah, I think a big difference between Marvel and Star Wars in that sense is that Marvel's timeline does mostly keep moving forward. Like they rarely go back. And every once in a while, there's like the obviously like the first Captain Marvel movie that was going back in time, the Black Widow movie. I think that was special circumstances. But yeah, Star Wars, meanwhile, is just like all over the place, just filling in any gaps left open on the timeline.
right.
So you have, in Marvel, like they intend for these younger actors to age with the audience.
Right.
Whereas in Star Wars, they really need to get, a young Solo.
Right. Interesting. Okay, cool. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the MCU special presentations that we've got coming up. I think, Elysia, you were pretty excited for what they might reveal for the October surprise, but then they did a little switcheroo on you?
I mean, it's not, I was wondering, we know that they were filming a special at the same time that they were filming what was originally called House of Harkness and then called Coven of Chaos, and apparently is now called Darkhold Diaries, the Agatha Harkness show.
Okay.
So yeah, we knew that they filmed a special at the same time, or at least it was very heavily rumored. And we thought that that was going to be a Mephisto special. We also knew, by the way, Sacha Baron Cohen was involved. But now people are saying it's not a Mephisto special. It's actually Witch's Road, which is like a collection of Scarlet Witch comic books from 2015 to 2016. So yeah, I'm obviously excited to see my girl back on her redemption arc.
Can you talk?
Can she be redeemed?
Yeah, you can always be redeemed.
Can you just do a little bit of contextual setup about these October surprise special issues and tell us what you understand the studio's intention is?
Well, I mean, but that's also that seems to be changing. So we got Werewolf by Night last year, and so that was a one-off, and that's another one that is maybe my favorite MCU thing ever made. It's really one for the classic horror fans, and it was done by Michael Giacchino, who there's actually also another special presentation called Director by Night, which is, I don't usually watch the Marvel Assembled stuff because it seems like a lot of promotional blah, blah, blah. But some of them are special. And this one is very different from every other. And it ends up being like about his family and their whole experience with him growing up and how he incorporated all of these Easter eggs for classic horror fans, like little markers when they switch the scene, and it's just the pacing, the way it's done, the special effects, just very artful. And now there's going to be a colorized version released in October. So for a while, it looks like we were going to get these every year. And so I thought that, the new one, the Witch's Road
would kind of mirror up to some Christmas special things. So they were really trying to capitalize on a holiday market one-offs.
I think that was also an idea under the previous Disney CEO, Bob Chapek. And Iger has since stepped back in, which we thought at the time he previously was friendlier to creatives, but now he's become one of the villains of the strike.
Right.
But yeah, so there's also just none of the companies are doing that well. Disney is publicly needs to get more investor belief back into what they're doing on Disney Plus. So that also probably means a budget cut. So I don't know. I was really looking forward to, like, there's talk of a Man-Thing special for Halloween, a Ghost Rider. I was really looking forward to
great.
them.
Where did we see that? We talked about this before, but the previous Ghost Rider we saw, was that in the
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
And that would be a great Halloween special, a Ghost Rider,
Yeah, well, I want Robbie Reyes, Gabriel Luna back as Robbie Reyes, and I want what's his face from Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead. As Johnny Blaze.
Cool. Yeah, I think, the holiday special goes back. The tradition of the holiday special goes back a long way into television history, and it would be a fun thing to have more of these different, sort of just one-offs that have stakes, but that are still just fun. And because there are oftentimes during holidays, that's what, we want a podcast or a television show or a movie or something to see.
Right.
That's a long tradition.
Right. Yeah. Well, we got the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special last year, but I think this year that's probably why they're releasing What If at that time, because there is a Christmas special in there. Yeah,
to fit that spot.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I know, we were talking privately, Jean, about, like, I know you were really excited about, like, the Sentry and Silver Surfer Nova rumors.
I'm fully invested in the cosmic of the MCU, the cosmic corner. So everything that can deal with space and the cosmic awareness and all these overpowered beings, I want to see on screen, because I think it will make for great spectacle. So if they give me Silver Surfer, a proper Silver Surfer, not that Silver Surfer that we received in the Fantastic Four, if they give me a proper Galactus, if they give me, even Sentry, but Sentry is going to be hard to pull off because of the character itself. Sentry is like almost like analogous for Superman, but one that
like
has
evil Superman.
Mental. No, he has like split personality.
Oh, okay.
Which causes him to be really unpredictable and very, he's a really. I don't know who could do that character justice.
There was a rumor about Henry Cavill doing it, but I'm guessing, I know with the Fantastic Four casting, they went back to the drawing board, because apparently the famous actors they initially wanted to hire, they realized, like, they were going to cost too much money.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. Oh my gosh. Oh, that stinks.
The casting rumors for the Fantastic Four and everything else have been absolutely crazy. And then, that seems to feed into the Disney's budgeting Marvel much more rumors.
Okay.
Oh, that stinks.
Yeah. It's going to be the marketplace there's big shifts going on. So I think,
but I also would love a chance for, new up and comers to get to shine.
Oh yeah, definitely. It just stinks that, I don't want to get on a soapbox against the studios and the executives, but these are folks who are, just have no idea how much these characters mean to people. And I get it. It's a studio. The goal is to make money. But when the people who are making the most money are talking about, we can't afford shit, that just pisses me off.
I think I've been reading and listening to a lot of stuff, and I'm by no means an expert, but one of the things that I clearly see is that studios, as we traditionally saw them, MGM, Paramount, what have you, they were in the business of entertainment and making entertainment. And then when you now have something like an Amazon or an Apple or a Netflix, which are they're selling toilet paper or watches, or Netflix is in the business of delivering entertainment, but now they're in the business of producing it. And so you have a different economic driver. It's not about producing entertainment for entertainment's sake.
Right.
It's about, metrics and revenues and things like that. And then when you stack the all three aspects of the economic model of, well, you've got somebody who's selling a script, somebody who's writing a script, selling a script, producing a script, and then marketing the script, or then distribution. When you put all of that into one thing, as opposed to having different entities that are buying and selling from each other, that also changes a big economic model. And I think, anyway, I didn't mean to go too far sideways on studio.
One way in which we might get to keep these special presentations and they cut the costs is, for instance, I said The Witch's Road was filmed side by side with Check's Notes' latest title, Darkhold Diaries. The Sentry one is rumored to be supposed to film beside Thunderbolts. Mm-hmm. So they can do major cost cutting and tie, if the stories tie together,
which is great. That's smart. Smart. That's smart production. But creating entertainment for the sake of entertainment versus, well, we want to co-brand and market. I want to sell more paper towels because I can put Rings of Power logo on the outside of the.
But Werewolf by Night wouldn't have been made by those rules, and that would be such a shame. Yeah,
exactly.
But
okay,
let me
empower entertainers and performers and entertainment, right? So
so let me ask you guys. So Witch's Road is apparently almost definitely happening next year, and let's assume Sentry is going to also film beside Thunderbolts. Of the ones that are left, if you could only pick one to become a theatrical release, which one would you pick?
Jean, you can go first.
Give me the choices again.
So the ones that are left are Man-Thing, Ghost Rider, Silver Surfer, Nova, and I didn't mention it, but Secret Warriors.
Standalone Silver Surfer?
Mm-hmm. It's just a standalone movie.
Silver Surfer.
Okay.
With a close second being Richard Rider, Nova.
Okay.
A very close second, but Silver Surfer.
Okay. What about you, David?
Well, not being as well versed as both you guys are, I think I also have to go with Silver Surfer. I think that's for a big for a big screen. I think that works really well. Whereas I don't know, Ghost Rider as a standalone, I don't know if that would
give me a horror option. I'm going to choose it.
Yeah, that's true.
First pick Ghost Rider, second pick my boy Ted Salas, Man-Thing.
Okay. Nice.
Fair enough.
Good stuff. Well, I think we're at a good place for a break here. And then when we come back, we're going to do a Loki season 1 recap. Jean, I think you've got that covered. And then we're going to go into what we know and what we're looking forward to for season 2. So we'll be right back.
Matthew McConaughey, when you're not playing the drums naked or filming car commercials, what do you do for fun?
I'll listen to Properly Howard, of course.
Properly Howard? What's that?
It sort of teleports you to a time of movie magic.
So this is a movie podcast?
Something like that, yeah. It's more than that, though. You know, the professor brings a little bit of that highbrow, and then the comedian brings a little bit of that lowbrow. What you get is a little thing called middlebrow, kind of like the Baby Bear podcast. It's just right.
Fantastic. So if you're looking for a decent film review podcast, come check out Anthony and Steve at Properly Howard, wherever you get your quality podcasts.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mr. McConaughey was voiced by stand-up comic Steve Osborne, but in all likelihood does represent the views of actor Matthew McConaughey.
Okay, and we're back. All right, Loki is what we're here to talk about. I was furiously trying to watch some videos before we jumped on the mics this morning, catching up with some new Rockstar stuff there. You know, obviously, man, this Loki stuff is deep with the connectivity. The red yarn board thing is huge, but I think it would probably be helpful for us and for folks listening to this is if we had a quick recap of season 1. So Jean, you've got some notes for us?
Yeah. So season 1 is basically Avengers 2012 Loki, who's been captured by Thor, leading him back to Asgard, but he escapes during the time heist from Infinity War, if we all remember that. He uses the Tesseract to escape the clutches of Thor, and he's flown through time. And where he lands at is with the TVA, the Time Variance Authority. He's been marked as a variant. The TVA exists to make sure variants don't disrupt the sacred timeline. The sacred timeline. Whoa, that's deep right there, boy, I tell you.
Yeah.
And we come to find out that the sacred timeline was established by He Who Remains.
Just a quick interjection here, too. As you were commenting on sacred timeline, it didn't necessarily occur to me the choice of that word, sacred. That's it's not prime, it's not, preferred, whatever, sacred. It has a very specific connotation, that word. So that's interesting.
Religious in
nature.
In the way that we think about it, right?
Yes. Somebody wants to be a messiah figure.
Somebody wants to be a god. Right? So he's captured by the TVA. The TVA deals with variants. Variants are not good, according to the TVA. So they take them out. So now we come to meet Morbius and Morbius. It's a great name. One of my favorite names in Marvel, who is a TVA agent. He works for the TVA.
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson, yes, thanks. And he basically goes to bat for Loki. He wants to recruit Loki to catch a villain that is killing other Lokis.
Right.
So this is where we begin with his story. The story of Loki and the Time Variant Authority. What do you guys think of that setup from season 1? Is it something that grabbed you? Is it something that interested you right away?
Quirky bureaucracy gets me every time.
I will say that they did a really excellent job in creating the visual look of an era of a bureaucracy, trying to bring in that. I think it spans multiple decades, but certainly into the from 60s into early 70s vibe. And you think of at least in American history, things like the Tennessee Valley Authority or the Bridge and Tunnel Authorities, especially around in the New York area, or what was the Depression era authority that the civilian works. I'm blanking now. Anyway, the big authority that they set up to try to get people back to work coming out of the Great Depression. And so they built roads and parks and trail systems and all kinds of things. So it has, they really, for me, nailed that vibe and that look in the TVA all the way through Miss Time and all of the PSAs that we used to get as kids on the little film strip thing. So it was a well-constructed vision. Whoever had that vision and how they wanted to do it, it was excellent in the sense of they went all the way their vision extended really far, and they were able to have the room to create all the little artifacts and the little things like the name tag badges, and it was good.
One thing that's different this season is that there's a different director doing all the episodes, or two to be exact. So the first season was directed by Kate Herron, and so a lot of the things that we really love about it, she deserves credit for.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, but I have high hopes for the second season, because the second season is directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. Now these are two people who are more familiar to people who like indie horror movies.
Oh. Interesting.
So like they did the Endless series of movies, like Spring, and there's they have a very surreal sensibility, so it should be interesting.
Okay. Now we also meet Ravonna Renslayer. I mean, come on, these names are just
It's a great name.
Let me just take a minute to say thank you to Kirby, Lee, all of the folks who made comics, because some of these names are just so spectacular. And just saying Ravonna Renslayer just makes me smile from ear to ear. I don't know. I don't even have to know anything about this character. Just saying the name is enlifting. So thank you. So Ravonna is Mobius's boss at the TVA, but in the comics, she is the major love interest of one Kang the Conqueror.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So yeah, let's see where that goes, if it goes anywhere. Loki and Mobius, they're trying to stop a variant Loki from killing TVA folks, and we meet Sylvie, who is an alternate Loki, who is on the run from the TVA. What did you guys think about Sylvie?
I loved it. I was totally shipping the clone cest.
Fair enough. Awesome. For me, it was a big twist, and to have not only another Loki, but to have a female Loki, and whatever ends up being with their relationship, the chemistry on screen was great. The chemistry between the Loki variants was great, and I just and I haven't rewatched season 1, so I'm just going off of memory. Just that I was surprised and interested because, okay, where could they go with this? What could be done with this? And how does what we know from Tom Hiddleston's portrayal, how can they play with it in all these different ways by having these two sort of as antagonists to each other, but also that's the great thing about Loki, is that Loki is a protagonist, antagonist together, right?
Yeah.
That it's not just a
the
simple
anti-hero.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great. And to have taken a very antagonistic character from the Avengers and then made him the focus of our story and have him going through some arc and then throwing another Loki at him, it's really interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing where we end up with these two characters.
I love Sylvie.
Yeah.
I wasn't shocked because,
okay,
in the comics, they had already changed Loki from male to female. And that's been in the comics for, I think, going back to, I want to say 2008, 2007 storyline where Ragnarok happened in Thor's lore, and the gods, they were reborn, and Loki was reborn as a woman, as female. So that was really, and the thing is that was so cool about it is that no one batted an eye in the comic. Like there was no talk about, oh gosh, what happened to you in the comic itself, right? Like the characters in the comic as they were written just quickly were like, oh, hey, okay, this is Loki. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was really, looking back on it, which was really saying something in 2008, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't shocked to see a female Loki. Sylvie as a character, I thought she was great. I thought she really gave that energy, that chaotic energy that Loki deserves, that he has traditionally had in the comics. So the way she moved, the way she sneered, the way that she, just interacted with other folks, I thought was really true to the character.
Right.
So yeah, I really was happy to see that play out on screen.
Cool.
So TVA agents, they're all variants with their memories having been erased. That's what Loki and Mobius learned. 2012 Loki is pruned, which is what the TVA does to variants.
Right.
And he's sent to the end of time. And he meets classic Loki from the 1960s comic books.
Right.
He meets boastful Loki. he meets Kid Loki, and he meets Alligator Loki.
That was the most bizarre.
We see,
but it worked. It could have
worked.
It worked. Sylvie's nothing.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. There you go.
Because there is something called the Pet Avengers, so fingers crossed.
Yes. There's a frog Thor.
We saw there was an Easter egg. We saw him when Loki went into the bunker. There's a little frog Thor in a
that's right
in a jar.
So these Lokis are all hiding from Alios, which is the big bad smoke monster that is running through the end of time, just destroying everything. I really enjoyed the Lokis.
Yes.
Classic Loki was just I'm blanking on the actor's name.
Oh right, yeah. I know.
Goodness gracious! Give me one moment.
Richard Grant.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So
he's great. He's such a great actor.
Awesome. He was so awesome, and to see him in the getup. Because that's the Loki that I grew up reading, right? That's what he looked like in the comics for a very long time. So, I got my first bag of comics from an older cat that was on my block. He was like, "Yo, I don't want these anymore. Take them." And this was the Loki that I saw. When I read that, when I opened up a Thor comic that had, I forgot which one it was, but that was the Loki that was in the story, that look.
Cool.
Because this guy had been collecting comics for longer than I was alive. So it was so nice to see that play out on screen. And not just for jokes.
Yeah. No, and Richard Grant plays it so well that I was feeling very emotional when he makes his sacrifice.
Yeah. It's just, like you said, he played it well, and just... Yeah, these are the things that for someone like me who grew up reading these characters and at times you grew up reading comics and people look at you like, oh, you reading comics? Like, what are you reading comics for?
You're
like,
right,
because they're really dope, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I'm reading them. Like, they're really dope. You know what I'm saying? You should give it a. This is from people who were reading sci-fi. At the time, they were reading fantasy books. They were reading, Tolkien and CS and all of that stuff, right? And they were looking at me like, you're reading comic books. I'm like, yeah, I am. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're reading comic books too, bro. You just don't know it. But it's so nice for me to see, for those of us who grew up reading these things and seeing these play out on screen. Like, that really hit me when I saw classic Loki. That was so cool for me. So we get back to the story. 2012, Loki and Sylvie, they escape the end of time. And they meet He Who Remains, who explains that he ended a multiversal war between himself and his variants, and that the TVA is meant to keep one timeline so that these other variants don't come to be. He gives them a choice. You can kill me, and what I'm trying to stop is going to happen, or you guys can take over and keep the sacred timeline. Sylvie kills him because she's been running from the TVA from when she was a little girl. She had no qualms about doing them. And at that moment, 2012 Loki is sent back to the TVA, and we see multiple timelines just sprouting everywhere. 2012 Loki looks up, and what he sees is a statue, many statues, with the face of He Who Remains towering over a bustling TVA. And that's where we end. What did you guys think?
Elysia?
So I know something about where he landed that was said by the producers. I don't know if you guys want me to say it.
Say it.
It's more about when he landed.
Ooh.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm good.
No, just more about when he landed.
Not where he landed.
That's why Mobius and B-15 don't know him.
Right.
Ah.
Oh, Jean's got a thing on his
because we see in the trailers, we see it's Yeah, they call it time slipping in this, but it looks a lot like the glitching in the Spider-Verse movies.
Mm.
Yeah,
in
you're
the first
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's true. That is true. Huh. When he landed.
At the end of, I'm just again trying to go off of memory and what I was feeling at the end of Loki. I thought that it's interesting because there's so much complexity to the Loki story and the timeline stuff and all how the TVA is structured and what it's really for, and then having Sylvie and then dropping the hint of He Who Remains, that in terms of the what we were talking about before, the feature, not the bug, the interconnected nature of Marvel stories and specifically TV stuff, this was the most complex, I think, when I think back to Falcon or to the Witch,
WandaVision.
WandaVision, thank you.
Well, I don't know. That one's pretty complex too. But
It is, but this one spans time and multidimensional stuff. I don't know, and it just seemed to be the most, to me. It has the most stuff going on, but yet it was the most successful and the most approachable and the most.
Yeah,
I mean, for hearing other people's response, they were like, "Oh yeah, I really enjoyed Loki. I liked it more than some of the other television shows I had seen." And so it has a resonance and an accessibility that people have. And I think I kind of feel the same way. I was like, this was fun. This was interesting. This was a good time. I was entertained.
But not to play down WandaVision, because that actually was a huge drive for people to get into Marvel. Like people who never liked Marvel before watched WandaVision and then went back and started watching all the movies.
Yeah.
Interesting, because
then Loki came out shortly afterward, and this was like sort of the 1-2 punch, and we're like, wow, this is what we're getting. And
well, we had Falcon in between. What was the other? And then we have something else. We had a couple of misfires in between Wanda and Loki. I have to go back and look at the timeline.
Yeah. but for me, I think the storytelling with Loki and with WandaVision showed what kind of stories could be told within the MCU.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it didn't have to be like a superhero, bang, pow, kazoom type of TV show to be really, really good and really, really well done. You could have those moments, but the storytelling within those two series was just overall, it was just excellent. Go ahead.
It kind of, I was just going to call back too. It kind of goes into the Marvel TV world. That was, on the Netflix stuff where there was a lot of character story.
Yes.
And it wasn't, pow, bang, boom. Right.
Right. So you get that with those two shows. Go ahead, Elysia.
It was just Falcon and the Winter Soldier in between.
That was the only one in between. Interesting, because that.
And then Black Widow right after.
I
guess that was during
the movie. Right.
Yeah.
Right, which was that was so unfortunate. They really did her dirty. Anyway, separate topic.
Yeah, I mean the movie's not bad. It's not great. It's fine.
It wasn't great, and it wasn't handled properly.
It wasn't handled properly.
Yeah, most of all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. But WandaVision, Loki, again, it's just different storytelling, and I'm appreciative of that, and that they were able to do what they did, and give you a comic book show that had deep storytelling to it. I think it was awesome. It was awesomely. Both series were acted extraordinarily well and just handled with great care to the characters.
Mm-hmm.
They did not leave, unlike Secret Invasion. They did not leave their actors in a lurch.
Right.
Like, they gave them stuff to do that
had some meat.
Yeah. It had real, oomph to the story. And just well done.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah. What is grief but love persisting?
But love persisting.
Pow. There's a pow for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we're in phase 5, and what do you think of how we're doing so far? We've got you wrote down, John, Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Secret Invasion. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was good. Quantumania was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys know I'm not a Guardians fan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've already explained,
Yeah.
done that. Quantumania was fine. I'm generally I'm not excited yet
Okay.
in Phase 5.
Uh-huh.
I'm not excited yet. I don't know when I'll be excited. I'm hoping it's the Marvels because that looks
Well, I'm
like
hoping
it's
it's
going to
Loki.
be. Well, yeah, that absolutely, because it comes first, right? So hopefully that really sets the tenor for what comes next, right? And you're right.
Mhm.
Hopefully it is Loki that gets us excited again about Phase 5. But there's a lot riding on Loki, and there's a lot riding on them for me personally.
Yeah.
Because
I think for a lot of viewers, casual fans, and even more serious fans,
the storytelling has to mean something, because I think a theme that we've been talking about for the last hour is the connectivity, the connective tissues with these shows and these movies, and I'm expecting that.
Right.
You don't have to give me a straight line, but you have to give me something.
Right.
To hang my hat on and say, okay, I can hopefully see something beyond the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Will that happen? I don't know.
Oh, Benson and Moorhead give me the directors. They give me hope that it's going to be, because they are also, I mean, hopefully just the studio didn't get too much in their way, because these are guys who are used to making independent films and just having a complete vision for what they do.
I read an article that interviewed Nia DaCosta, the director of Marvels, where she said, don't take this as a direct quote, but this is the sense that I got from the quote, where she said that, she's used to running her movie, but this is a Feige production.
Right.
This is a Feige production.
Right. And this is, the thing is, like, with Secret Invasion, Feige could have had more input, I think. I think that he might have kept it more in line. I don't know. But then for something like this, where I really, I trusted the original showrunner of Secret Invasion.
Right.
They had, So I just hope that they learned the lesson, or at least the fact that Loki is so successful gave more leeway, even if it's different directors.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it seems like all the main cast is going to be back.
Yeah, so we have Loki coming back, of course. We have Mobius coming back. We have Miss Minutes.
Yes.
Fan favorite.
Best. Follow her on Twitter, anyone who doesn't.
Really?
It's hilarious and sometimes relevant too.
Is she on Blue Sky? Do you know?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Just a weird little segue, but I'm really hoping that Blue Sky is going to be a good place for us to move towards.
No,
we
me
just
too.
got a Lorehounds account there, and I got up on there. So if you're a Blue Sky person, Jean, I got to send you a code too.
All right, cool.
But yeah, we're looking to see how we can get away from Twitter before too long.
Yeah,
before
it says
people
becoming.
To pay.
For instance, like when that whole colonizer thing. Oh, sorry, we were talking about this off air before.
Anyway, I don't want to go too far off. Let's not go there.
But anyway, you can report things, and they don't, like, the most horrible things can be said. And
exactly. There's no Anyway,
so Miss Minutes is back. Hopefully, we get to see how evil she is really in this season.
Yeah,
because I don't trust her. She's high up on my board of evil.
But who or what is she? Or
I'm hoping to find out. Like I said, she's high up on my board of evil. So Miss Minutes is right up there.
I want to point out something that the Miss Minutes Twitter account pointed out to me, is that when we see in the trailer, when we have the flashback and we see her running like giant through the crowd, everyone's calling it Ghost Miss Minutes, and she's like, "I'm wearing a skirt."
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. We have Ravona's back, Sylvie's back, Hunter B15 is back, Casey is back, who's just a regular bureaucratic guy trying to toil away at his job.
Doesn't want to be turned into.
Doesn't want to be.
What is a fish? Wasn't that his line?
Yeah. And we have some variants of He Who Remains, running around, and we'll get to meet them. So we'll see what becomes of that.
Yeah. So I know we have Victor Timely in the trailer. Is this, you know much more about the King variants? Do you know much about Victor Timely?
Yeah, he's what you just said. He's a variant of Kang. And the thing is, it's
but like back in 1920ish.
He's like a. I'm trying to remember if he actually remembers that he is Ramatut.
Oh.
Because that would be really, really amazing. He goes back, from his timeline to the 20s, so he can dominate, this era, which is what he's trying to do. He's super smart, like all Kangs are. He's a genius level intellect. He's built he has like robot stand-ins for himself. He's a really interesting character. It's almost like who's a magnate, a business magnate from the 20s and 30s that I guess
like a Rockefeller or something.
Yeah, like a Rockefeller, like a Ford type of what they're trying to get at. That he goes back to become like one of these, characters, movers and shakers to, eventually take over the world.
Right.
So
or like a Tesla character.
Yes.
Although I guess that's similar. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll see how he does in this. So Victor Timely. Who else do we know that will be in?
I think that's all we know for sure. Although, the question is, might they have cut back on appearances of Kang because of the whole what's going on with Jonathan Majors?
Right. Which is has yet to be adjudicated.
Right.
There are too many things going on with that particular story of abuse, and maybe it's not abuse, and that.
But then other people also spoke out before, and then suddenly everyone fell silent at the same time.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of weird things going on around Jonathan Majors right now, and I don't know what's true and what's not true. I do know that domestic violence is not something that can be taken lightly at all. And if it's proven that he did indeed have these horrible, horrible acts, that he did them, then by every extent of the law, he should be justly punished for doing so.
No, talent doesn't save you. But I'm also worried on top of that, the stories about him just being like terrible to people on set, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too, is like, okay, who gets to be terrible on set?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who gets to be terrible on set? Like, there are many actors who we've known that have been terrible on set, that continue to be terrible on set, and not much is said about them. So who gets away?
Who gets called out and who doesn't? You mean?
Yeah, exactly. So the terrible on set thing.
Yeah. I just want like all bad behavior to not be rewarded, but
absolutely,
people see like people falling over at the box office to buy tickets to Jonathan Majors movies, and it affects the way that this whole situation is
plays out,
received. Yeah,
absolutely. So we'll see what happens with that. I think the court date has been pushed back yet again.
Yeah.
So we really have no information except the rumors and the gossip that are circulating. So
we don't know how it will play into, because he was going to be the centerpiece of this whole phase.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if this calls into question about the recasting of characters, and I know some folks have an aversion to recasting characters, which I do not have an aversion to.
Nope.
So, if the role needs to be recast, there are plenty of other persons of color who can play that role.
Yeah.
If they choose to go down that road.
Yeah. I want Omar Sy or Omar Sy. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. The guy who plays Lupin.
Lupin. Yeah, he'll be good.
He can play like a dozen different characters. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Omar.
Is that the Netflix? The thief.
Yeah.
He could do. Yeah. He could do it.
There are plenty of people
sure.
who can play the character. If it comes to that. Just like there are plenty of people who can replay T'Challa. Marvel, let's get this ball rolling, please. So.
But now we've got Kid marker. Now we've got Kid T'Challa.
Yeah, we are. I want Kid
T'Challa. Tongue twister.
I don't want Kid T'Challa. No, I don't want Kid T'Challa.
Yeah, I don't need then maybe thing.
I don't want Kid T'Challa who doesn't even have a.
But
Haitian
I'm hoping
accent.
we get. I hope we get. Okay, fine. But we can recast Kid T'Challa. I can't
He's
say
living
this.
in Haiti.
It's a tough one.
Say it 5 times really fast.
I can
but
say
he's
T'Challa.
living in Haiti. He's living in Haiti and doesn't have a Haitian accent. No,
okay,
get out of here.
I mean, but his mom is international.
Oh, no.
But I was hoping for because here's why I want Kid to gosh. Here's why I want the Kid version is I want Kid Aurora. I want Kid Storm. There's a really cool, then he's got to get himself over to Egypt to meet her, and then I want that whole story.
That would be cool if they told. So Oro is Storm. David, just X-Men character, Omega level mutant, who's married
my
Black
favorite.
Panther.
Yeah.
She and T'Challa got married. They recently divorced to the chagrin of nearly every single fan. Marvel did a disservice to their union, which I hope they rectify in the future, because there was no reason to do what they did. But I digress. So that would be a great story to tell. And if they told that story, I'll be on board with Kid T'Challa. We have some new characters coming to the show in season 2. We have Rafael Casal as Brad Wolf, an actor in the film The Zaniac.
Yes.
I haven't seen The Zaniac, but I know somebody who has seen The Zaniac. How was The Zaniac?
No, well, I mean, it's from the comics. So in the comics, Brad Wolf, he's an actor who gets possessed by the character he's playing. And so he acts as an antagonist. So presumably it's going to be something similar.
Okay. That's a piece of lore that I did not know.
There's too many comics for any person.
And this is why we do the pod. That's awesome. We have Ki Hugh Kwan as a TVA archivist, and we love Ki Hugh Kwan.
Yeah. Oscar winner.
That's right.
On his name.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yep.
So hopefully, I'm looking forward to his character. I've enjoyed everything that he's done. Yeah. And
I like to see
awesome.
he can bring that zany energy that for the TVA.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes. And then we have Katie Dickey, who, if anyone remembers, hopefully you do, was Lysa Arryn from Game of Thrones. Not sure her character. Could she be playing an older Sylvie? We're not sure about this.
I mean, just because I guess she looks so much alike, that's where the rumor mill is spinning, but we have no idea.
Okay. And then I have a question for you guys. How do you feel about the McDonald's advertising?
So it's not a thing here, but I know about it from online that apparently it is a big thing in the US that there's a Loki advertising. We know Sylvie's going to appear in a McDonald's in the show. Have you guys noticed it in the US?
I only saw it in the trailer, part of a where Sylvie was at a McDonald's. Otherwise, I haven't picked up on it.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the talk, and I don't have a problem with it.
No. No, I mean,
it's
advertising
pretty standard.
Yeah. I don't have a problem.
Might as well. I just some people said that they were drowning in the McDonald's advertising, but I haven't seen it at all because it just doesn't exist here in the Netherlands.
Interesting. In the internationalization, the different variants, the many variants.
Abby was talking about it, so it must have exist in Japan, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's product placement, and
we're kind of used to it, as long as it doesn't change the story as long as it doesn't compromise the fundamental story.
Right.
Agreed.
You have a little product placement here and there. There's nothing new there. It depends on how far they go with it. And if it's really too much,
I think it's incidental to the plot.
Right.
For me personally, even if she works a 9 to 5 at McDonald's and we see her at her job, I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, it's as long as the story that they're telling is a good story, and if part of that story is that she is working at McDonald's, so be it.
Right. Yeah, and if they can allow themselves to be laughed at, like in the Barbie movie, then I'll have all the respect for them for that.
Yeah.
Right. Everything doesn't have to be a big belly burger. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And what are your guys' expectations for this season? I guess we could end on that. What are you guys wanting to see, if anything?
I want to see Tom Hiddleston with, he's got the comic-y aspects of Loki down. And so I'm looking really for some more nuance. I don't need a heartwarming tale of the good, bad, breaking good, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of already embedded to some degree in there, but I want to see his character with some more nuance and Hiddleston playing with some more, as Loki's discovering stuff about himself and about the world, to see that sort of play out. I'm looking forward to being entertained and not having to do, I want to go along for the ride. I want to go along for a good Marvel ride. I feel like I'm missing that a little bit. And so I'm trying not to put too much weight on the Marvel better fix this one, or I'm gonna put my hands on my hips and huff off and never watching Marvel again. I don't want to have that energy. I want to be entertained by a visually interesting story with compelling character development. I want it to be. I want to be able to put it in the same zone as what Ahsoka is giving me right now, in terms of big IP story, and it's hitting its marks. But I also don't want to preload my emotional response to it in the well, they screwed this one up again, and I'm I just don't want to have to deal with that.
Right.
So I'm not putting myself into that zone. So
okay,
I'm giving myself permission to get a bowl of cereal. At a minimum, right? Get a bowl of cereal, sit down, enjoy something that's going to be fun. And if it beats those expectations, then hell yes, I'll be happy.
What about you, Elysia?
Yeah, I don't want to try to hold it to season 1's expectations. I'm like, it's going to be new directors, new direction. But I'm hoping that they still were given the space and time for that attention to detail that made season 1 so magical. And obviously, I'm hoping for a little bit of a horror element would be fun.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I want it to be wacky and weird and also oddly moving. And I want Mobius to get some jet ski time. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I'm going into it with the expectation that I have no real true expectation other than I want it to have some sort of meaning. Like, Loki season 1 kind of spoiled me.
He always has to make himself heard.
He's welcome on the pod.
I respect it.
It's actually his birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday. Which one is it?
Ghost.
Hey, happy birthday, Ghost.
Happy birthday to Ghost.
Sorry.
So, no.
Don't be sorry.
Me?
This is real-time podcasting.
Season 1 spoiled me in a way that was great because it gave me something to look forward to. Gave me characters to look forward to seeing. It gave me great acting by those characters. And that's kind of what I want to see. Give me something to look forward to. It doesn't have to be looking forward to season 3 of Loki, but just something that I can say, man, I can't wait to see this play out on screen at some point.
Like you were saying, you want to be able to hang your hat on it.
Yeah, just it could be a small thing, could be a huge thing, but just something, that I could say, wow, I can't wait to get that. Whether it's next year or 3 years down the line.
Right.
Like I know something is coming. Like I knew Kang is here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow. And that left me with a sense of wanting. And that's kind of what my vibe is going into this season.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah, so much setup that's been done that needs to in phase 4 that needs to pay off. So let's start paying it off.
Yeah, let's start doing that.
All right. Well, good episode, guys. Thanks for coming back together. Thanks for all the work on the outline. Looking forward to covering this season, and hoping that all of our wishes come true for it. And then we're gonna, as we go into the rest of the year, we'll hopefully be adding some more interstitial stuff in. I mean, obviously, we're going to be talking about the Marvels. We have Echo, which is going to be a binge drop.
What if
we've got to be able to talk about that? So we'll
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night.
Color.
So we'll be talking and figuring out what our coverage is for MCU general, and then obviously Loki. Yeah, we'll be doing weekly deep dives. So we'll be here for all of you for that. I think too, so we can kind of talk a little bit about other programming notes on the main Lorehounds channel. We have been covering Ahsoka and Wheel of Time, and we just wrapped up Foundation. So all of those should be available. Weekly coverage on Wheel of Time and Ahsoka. Those have been great. Coming up in October, sort of our summer, sort of through our Lorehounds scheduling into some, we just got off track on some of our regular monthly shows like Silmarillion stories, and we've been covering the Earthsea books by Ursula K. Le Guin. Lorehounds Play. I know that Brandon and John have been trying to get together to do a Skyrim podcast, and us three have been talking about doing a one shot for The Creator.
Yes.
So that is looking very exciting, which should be out next week. We just
week.
got to figure out a recording time, because that's going to be a theater only release. I thought it was going to be streaming, so we got to get to theater, and then we got to get some time on the books to record about it. But that's definitely going to come out in October. Elysia, well, here, before we talk about your stuff, Elysia, there have been some very excited comments asking about Jean and Elysia. You guys doing something together? Have you talked? You don't have to announce anything, but are you at least thinking about it or talking about it?
I mean,
We're thinking about it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Then I can jump in with general stuff. Is that there's been a general pause on my end for so
life.
Yeah, and there's been health stuff. So now I'm looking forward to resuming the book club.
The Woolshift Dust Silo book.
So that's the next thing that should be seeing is Shift.
Okay.
And resuming also the Dune coverage, because we're just gonna take our time and go through the things that were planned that lead up to the new movie, and then we'll get back to the new movie once that comes out. And
gives me time to watch Jodorowsky's Dune finally. It's on my board. I just haven't been able to get around to it.
And there's other stuff planned in the meantime, like for any fans of Poe and Mike Flanagan. I know that we've all been talking about some House of Usher coverage.
Right. Yep. You've definitely got some stuff, and you'll announce when you're ready to actually lock that in. And then I think we have some auxiliary coverage that should play into your coverage. So that should be fun.
And Jean and I are also, we've had an initial exchange of ideas, but we just need to get together and talk on.
Okay.
And we'll do that.
Yeah.
So,
you know that John, you both have John and I's full support on whatever you guys decide you want to do. We have a platform. We'll get the feed up for whatever you guys want. We're highly encouraging and excited to see what results from that. So
awesome.
Yeah. A quick note about our other affiliate podcast, Properly Howard Movie Reviews. I don't know if either of you have been listening to Steve and Anthony.
I have.
It's really it's so good. I love their current season right now. The RoboCop episode was hilarious. So if you don't know Properly Howard Movie Reviews, it's another one of our affiliate podcasts. It's Anthony, who's an academic, and Steve, who's a stand-up comic. And we sort of joke, it's like, what if a theologian and a stand-up comic walked into a podcasting studio? Well, there you go.
But it's a joke that pays off, though.
Yeah. It does. It really does.
The joke pays off.
Yeah. So they normally do movie reviews, and for this season of movies, they decided to cover different remakes. So they got a whole slate of things like White Man Can't Jump. They covered Dune, which Elysia and you and I were on. They did RoboCop. The Wolfman, did you get a chance to listen to The Wolfman, Elysia?
No, but that sounds right up my alley. I've actually been listening to some of their, because before they were doing Properly Howard, they were doing, was it Cocoons of Horror?
Cocoons of Horror was their previous iteration. Yeah.
So I've been listening to some of their backlog, actually.
Okay.
More than I've been caught up on the new stuff. Although,
I think the Wicker Man you'll enjoy. I mean, not the Wicker Man, the Wolfman. And then they've got the Wicker Man coming up.
I've actually never watched the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man, but I was a fan of the 70s one. So yeah, I need to get on that.
Well, that's the cool thing about the podcast too, is that you don't have to have listened to or seen a movie, to listen to the podcast. Because they talk about remakes in general. They spoof. They just talk about pop culture nonsense. It's a really easy flow, and it's a lot of fun. So
it is.
Yeah, and Anthony and I also did a crossover episode for his Electric Boogaloo podcast about the Game of Thrones.
Cool.
So it's about. So that'll be popping up in October, and it's about the influences of Poe, but specifically the Fall of the House of Usher on the Game of Thrones lore.
Nice.
We also did a little 10-minute conversation about the friendship between George R.R. Martin and Robert Jordan, the author of the Wheel of Time book. So,
wow, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Ooh, I'm happy to hear this. I love it when our extended Lorehound community gets together and starts cooking, right? Like, let's throw a little bit of this and a little of that into the stew. So awesome. Well, anyway, Properly Howard. So they've got the Wicker Man. They just did The Departed. And then we've got Cape Fear, The Thing, and Sorcerer all in their next round of lineups. And then, Anthony has the Electric Boogaloo, which is a book-by-book, chapter-by-chapter conversation and analysis of all the Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. So check that out if you're into those things. I think that's it. Our last thing to do is to thank our patrons. Again, we have a Patreon. You can find us at the Lorehounds over there. We have several tiers that you for as little as $3 you can join and get ad-free access and to everything and early access as well. Plus, we've got some exclusive things. John does a thing called Shire Side Chats, if you can say that 5 times fast. We also have the Second Breakfast podcast, where we talk about life and things that we're not podcasting about, as well as Patreons get to write in and ask us questions, or if we even had a book report once by one of our listeners. So it's a lot of fun. But we do like to thank our top tier subscribers, our Lore Masters, and they are Samartian, Cyrus, Mark H, Michael G, Michelle E, David W, Brian P, Nick W, SC, Peter O.H, Bettina W, Adam S, Nancy M, Lavinia T, Duve 71, Brian 8063, Frederick H, Sarah L, Gareth C, Eric F, Matthew M, Sarah M, DJ Miwa, Andra B, Kwang Yu, Laura G, Deadeye, Jedi Bob, Nathan T, Alex V, and Aaron T. That list just keeps slowly growing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you're interested in what we do on our Patreon, you can get a 7-day free trial now. It's a new feature that Patreon has, so you can check out some of our back catalog, check out some of the Second Breakfast, and if it works for you, you can subscribe. But to all of our Patreon subscribers, thank you so much. Ongoing support. Make sure that everybody in our community is taken care of and that we've got all the bits and bloops and things that we need to make this podcast a reality. Okay, so we will be back in your feeds with the Loki season 2, episode 1. Probably a few days. I know that week is a little bit crazy scheduling because we all have some life things going on, but we'll probably hit that. Well, we just found out too that it's coming a little earlier. So I don't know if that's because they kind of advanced the clock on release,
Well,
right?
it's only by a few hours. It's still 3 a.m.
Yeah.
for me.
Okay. Yeah, but are you going to wake up at 3?
No, because I'm going to be with my mom.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That's right.
yeah,
You have family
yeah,
visiting.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. All right. So we will get the episode 1 might be slightly delayed because of personal things, but trust that it's coming. And then hopefully we'll get into a regular groove for, what do we got? 6 or 8 on that?
6 again, I think.
6 episodes.
Okay, cool. And then, yeah, we'll keep you up to date on our future coverages for all the other kind of stuff. Jean, thanks again.
Thank you, guys.
Elysia, always a pleasure. Thank you. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Yes. To the TVA.
The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by the Lorehounds. You can send questions and feedback and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities.